In those days, Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she conceived and bore a son. But this child was unlike any other born into the world. His skin was as white as snow, tinged with a rosy blush like the unfurling of a rose. His hair was long and as white as the purest wool, flowing in soft, gentle waves. And his eyes, oh, they were radiant and beautiful beyond measure. When the infant opened his eyes for the first time, a brilliant light streamed forth, filling the entire house with a brightness akin to the sun itself. At that very moment, held cradled in the midwife's arms, as if guided by a divine hand, the child opened his mouth and spoke words of blessing to the Lord of righteousness. Lamech, the child's father, was utterly terrified. Fear overwhelmed him, gripping him in its icy clutches. He fled from his home, rushing headlong to his father Methuselah. "I have begotten a strange son, unlike any other," he cried out, his voice trembling with fear. "He bears the likeness of the children of the God of heaven, and his nature is different from our own. His eyes are as radiant as the sun's rays, and his face is filled with glory. It seems to me that he is not of my blood, but of the angels. I fear that in his days, great wonders will appear upon the earth." Lamech pleaded with his father, his body trembling uncontrollably. "Now I ask you, go to our grandfather Enoch and ask him for the truth, for he dwells among the angels and will surely know what this means." Upon hearing these words, Methuselah set out to seek Enoch, journeying to the farthest reaches of the earth where he had heard Enoch resided. He called out in a mighty voice, and Enoch heard him and came to meet him. "Here I am, my son," Enoch said, his voice calm and reassuring. "Why have you sought me?" "I have come to you with great worry," Methuselah replied, his anxiety palpable. "I have been frightened by a vision and am greatly troubled. My son Lamech has fathered a child, but this child is unlike any other. His skin is whiter than snow and redder than a rose blossom. His hair is whiter than wool, and his eyes shine with the light of the sun. And when he opened his eyes, the whole house was illuminated. He stood up in the midwife's hands and blessed the Lord of heaven. Lamech has fled to me in fear, suspecting that the child is not his own, believing him to be like the angels of heaven. And I have come to you to know the truth of this matter." Enoch listened intently, then spoke with solemnity, his gaze far-reaching as if peering into the very fabric of time. "The Lord is about to do a new thing in the earth," he declared. "This is what I have seen in a vision. In the days of my father Jared, some of the angels of heaven transgressed the command of the Lord. They sinned and broke the law by taking wives from among the daughters of men, and they fathered children with them, committing a great sin. Soon, a great destruction will sweep across the earth, a flood that will last a whole year, cleansing the earth of its impurities. But this son that is born to you will be spared. He and his 3 children will survive when all other men perish. Giants will walk the earth, born not of the spirit, but of the flesh, and they will bring great punishment upon the world. But through it all, the earth will be cleansed of its corruption." Enoch continued, his voice resonating with prophetic power. "And now, go and tell your son Lamech that this child is indeed born of his flesh. And you shall name him Noah, for he shall remain for you, and he and his sons shall be delivered from the destruction that is coming upon the earth, from all the sin and wickedness that reaches its peak in his days." Enoch's voice grew heavier as he cautioned, his eyes filled with a deep, knowing sadness. "But even after the flood, the earth will once again fall into a deeper evil, even more profound than before. I know this, for I have seen the secrets of the holy ones revealed to me by the Lord. He has shown me, and I have read it in the heavenly tablets. And transgressions will continue from generation to generation, until finally a generation of righteousness arises. When that day comes, all sin will be eradicated, and goodness will fill the earth." Then Enoch turned to Methuselah, his expression filled with both gravity and hope. "Go now, my son, and tell Lamech that this child is his, and that the words I speak are true." When Methuselah heard the words of his father, He returned to Lamech and told him everything that Enoch had declared. Lamech named his son Noah, for he prophesied that Noah would bring relief to the earth after the great destruction. In those days, Noah looked upon the earth, and sorrow deepened within his heart. The land groaned beneath his feet, and he knew that destruction was imminent and unavoidable. With a deep, trembling voice, he cried out, not once, but 3 times, "Hear me, hear me, hear me." His call echoed across the desolate lands as he sought the wisdom of his grandfather, Enoch, whose spirit was heavy with foreboding. Enoch answered from the silence, "What has caused such despair in the earth that it trembles so greatly? Speak to me, Noah, for I fear that this turmoil will consume me as well." But as Noah began to respond, the earth shuddered beneath him. A great disturbance shook the land, and a sound of thunder vast, resounding, echoed from the heavens. Awe and fear overcame Noah, and he collapsed, pressing his face to the ground. At that moment, Enoch appeared, standing beside him, tall and radiant. He asked with a gentle rebuke, "Why, my child, have you called out to me with such pain and tears?" His voice became majestic as he continued, "From the face of the Lord has gone forth a decree, and the inhabitants of the earth are doomed to destruction, for they have revealed forbidden knowledge. They have learned the secrets of the angels, the ways of violent demons, and exploited powers never intended for humankind. They have mastered sorcery and witchcraft, and created molten images that curse the earth." He spoke of the secrets they had stolen, his voice filled with righteous indignation. "They have extracted silver from the dust of the earth, and discovered the origin of soft metals. Yet lead and tin, unlike others, spring from a well deep within the earth. This well is guarded by an angel, a being of immense power and authority." Then Enoch took Noah by the hand and raised him from the ground. "Go now, my son, for I have entreated the Lord of spirits concerning this chaos that shakes the earth." And his answer was clear. Their judgment is sealed and will not be delayed. Because of the sorcery they discovered and the darkness they embraced, the earth and all who dwell upon it will be swept away into destruction. With a grave tone, Enoch revealed the fate of those who had transgressed. "These sinners have no hope of repentance. They are cursed forever, for they have revealed what was meant to remain hidden. But fear not, Noah, for the Lord of spirits knows that you are pure, and this corruption has not touched you. You are blameless in his eyes." Enoch's voice softened, filled with both sorrow and hope. "The Lord has chosen your name to dwell among the holy. He preserves you even as the earth is ravaged. And from your lineage will rise an inheritance, a royal and righteous seed ordained for great dignity. From your descendants shall spring forth a perpetual reign, an unending and eternal kingdom." Then Enoch showed Noah the angels of punishment, fierce and ready, poised to unleash the forces of the deep waters beneath the earth. They stood waiting to bring judgment and destruction upon all who walked the earth. But the Lord of spirits restrained them, commanding the waters to remain under control, for the appointed time had not yet arrived. And so, Noah departed from his grandfather burdened with the knowledge of what was to come. In the days that followed, the word of God came to Noah. It was a voice like thunder, yet gentle with love. "Noah, your destiny has come before me, blameless and pure. You are a man of love and righteousness. And even now, the angels are building a great wooden structure. When their task is complete, I will lay my hand upon it and bless it. From this vessel will come forth the seed of life, and the earth will be renewed." God's promise was steadfast. "Your descendants shall be established forever. They shall not spread across the earth in desolation, but in abundance. They shall be fruitful and multiply, and my blessing shall rest upon them from generation to generation." Then God spoke of the fallen angels. "Those who brought wickedness upon the earth shall be cast into the burning valley, the same valley your grandfather Enoch once showed you. It lies to the west, nestled between mountains rich with gold, silver, iron, and soft metals of tin and lead. There, a great upheaval will occur, and the waters themselves will be disturbed by fire, molten metal pouring forth, and the stench of sulfur rising to join the burning waters, the very valley where the fallen angels are condemned. Noah saw the vision clearly, a valley of fire and rivers flowing with molten metal, where those who had led humanity astray would be punished eternally. But the waters that flowed through the valley would also serve a strange, dual purpose. For the kings and the mighty, those who still walk the earth in pride, these waters bring healing to their bodies. Yet even as their flesh is soothed, their spirits are tormented. They have denied the Lord of spirits each day, and they see their punishment, yet refuse to believe in his name. As the flames lick at their flesh, the torment of their souls increases, forever altered in proportion to their defiance before the Lord of spirits. Not a word shall remain unjudged. Their fate is sealed, for they followed the desires of their flesh and denied the Spirit of the Lord. In that day the waters themselves would be transformed. When the fallen angels are punished in fire streams, the waters shall become cold. Springs of healing once warm, those who seek its warmth will find only ice. Noah heard the archangel Michael proclaim, "This judgment upon the angels is a testimony to the kings and rulers of the earth. They have sought these waters for the healing of their bodies, but they will not see, nor believe, that these same waters will one day burn with an unquenchable fire, a fire that will consume them forever." In the aftermath of the judgment, my revered grandfather Enoch, with solemn gravitas, imparted the sacred teachings etched within the book of parables. These ancient secrets he meticulously compiled and unveiled to me with reverential care, as if bestowing an invaluable legacy of divine wisdom. On that fateful day, Michael, the archangel of might and justice, turned to Raphael and spoke with a voice brimming with awe and dread. "The weight of the Spirit, the harshness of judgment upon hidden truths, is almost unbearable," he intoned. "Who among us can bear such profound and relentless judgment, a judgment so burdensome that it melts even the steadfast?" With a troubled resolve, Michael addressed Raphael once more. "Which of the celestial hosts can remain unaffected by the agonies of this decree? How can any heart remain unmoved by the severity of the verdict issued upon those who have misled the earth?" As Michael stood before the Lord of spirits, he declared with unwavering determination, "I will not intercede on their behalf before the Lord, for the wrath of the Lord of spirits burns fiercely against them. They have usurped the place of the Lord and seized his authority. Therefore all that was hidden, all that was withheld from them, shall now be revealed, and their fate shall be eternally fixed. Neither angel nor human shall partake in this judgment. They alone shall bear the weight of eternal damnation." In the wake of this divine pronouncement, terror would grip the hearts of the angels, who would tremble at the sight of the revelations they had disclosed to humankind. They would become harbingers of fear, their names whispered in dread among the inhabitants of the earth. Behold the names of these angels, each bearing dark secrets and destruction. The first, Samiaza; the second, Artakapha; the third, Armin; the fourth, Kokabeel; the fifth, Turiel; the sixth, Rumjel; the seventh, Danjel; the eighth, Nikal; the ninth, Barakiel; the 10th, Azazel; the 11th, Armoros; the 12th, Baterel; the 13th, Buzasel; the 14th, Hananel; the 15th, Turel; the 16th, Simapesiel; the 17th, Jetrel; the 18th, Tumiel; the 19th, Turel; the 20th, Rumiel, and Azazel once more as chief among them. These are the chiefs of the angels, commanding hundreds, fifties, and tens. Their names are etched in infamy. First among them was Jechan, who led astray all the sons of God, bringing them down to earth and leading them into the deadly embrace of temptation through the daughters of humans. The second, Aspiel, imparted evil counsel to these divine beings, guiding them to impurity by defiling themselves with human flesh. The third, Gadriel, revealed to humankind the instruments of agonizing death, strikes and implements of demise, from shields to swords. He seduced Eve and showed humans the implements of war and destruction, thus perpetuating suffering on earth. The fourth, Penemu, imparted the knowledge of the bitter and the sweet, unveiling the secrets of wisdom that led humanity to sin through the invention of writing, an art that has caused untold excesses from ages past until the present day. For men were never meant to validate their actions with ink and parchment. They were created pure and righteous, untainted by the destructive knowledge that now consumes them. The fifth angel, Castagia, revealed to humankind the malignant strikes of spirits and demons, including the fatal strikes against embryos in the womb, the bites of the serpent, and the damage inflicted by scorching heat. His revelations brought torment to spirits and bodies alike. The sixth, Caspiel, revealed the sacred oath he had sworn with the holy ones, an oath whose power was immense and binding. This oath was entrusted to Michael, who holds within him the power to command and execute the divine decree. The secrets of this oath are great. By this oath, the heavens were established before the creation of the world, and the earth was founded upon the waters. From the depths of the mountains sprang forth beautiful springs, and the seas drew boundaries they dare not cross. The depths were secured, and the sun and moon kept to their course, the stars completing their cycles, all by the power of this oath. The spirits of water and wind and all the elements were bound by it, preserving their paths from corruption. The voice of thunder, the light of lightning, and the chambers of hail and frost, all elements of weather, thank and glorify the Lord of spirits forever, for they are preserved by this oath. And great joy fills their hearts as they bless and glorify the name of the Son of Man who has appeared and is now seated upon the throne of glory. Judgment has been given to him, and he shall cleanse the earth of sinners, binding them in chains and casting them into the place of destruction. All their deeds shall vanish from the earth. From this moment forward, corruption shall have no place. The Son of Man, having taken his throne, shall banish all evil from before his presence. His word shall be potent and effective before the Lord of spirits. And it came to pass that, during his earthly life, Enoch's name was magnified and elevated to the attention of the Son of Man and the Lord of spirits, surpassing all who dwelled upon the earth. In a great celestial ascension, he rose upon the chariots of the Spirit, and as he ascended, his name gradually faded from among them. From that moment on, Enoch was no longer counted among the realm of humans. Rather, he was placed between the two great winds, between the north and the west. And there, the angels measured the realm meticulously apportioned to the elect and the righteous. Within that sacred space, he beheld the ancient and righteous fathers, who had resided in this supernal world since the dawn of creation. Following this momentous event, Enoch's spirit transitioned into the heavens, ascending into the divine realms. There, he beheld the holy sons of God traversing paths of fire. Their garments were radiantly white, and their faces shone with the brilliance of newly fallen snow. He saw two streams of fire, their light resembling the hue of lilies, and overwhelmed by the vision, he fell prostrate before the Lord of spirits. Michael, the archangel, one of the glorified archangels, took him by his right hand and gently lifted him, guiding him through the divine mysteries. Michael revealed to him the hidden secrets of righteousness and the ultimate truths of the cosmos. He showed him the secrets of the ends of the heavens, the chambers of the stars, and the paths of the luminaries, all proceeding in divine order before the holy ones. Then, Enoch's spirit transitioned into the heaven of heavens, where he beheld a magnificent structure crafted from materials of intense clarity. Within this celestial edifice, tongues of living fire danced between crystalline walls. He saw the belt that encircled this fiery house adorned with streams of living fire flowing from all four sides. Seraphim, cherubim, and Ophanim, celestial beings that neither slumber nor rest, stood in vigilant watch around the throne of divine glory. Enoch beheld an innumerable host of angels, thousands upon thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000, surrounding the divine house. Among them were Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Phanuel, and other holy angels of the highest order, all entering and departing from that sacred place. From that celestial abode emerged Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Phanuel, and countless holy angels. And with them was the head of days, his head radiant and pure as wool, and his garments beyond description. Enoch fell upon his face, his entire body slack, and his spirit transformed. In this state of divine rapture, he cried out with a great voice, imbued with the spirit of power, blessing, glorifying, and exalting the Lord of spirits. The head of days received the blessings that flowed from Enoch's lips with great favor. And with him came Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Phanuel, and countless angels. With a voice filled with reverence, the angel spoke to him. Behold, the Son of Man born unto righteousness. Righteousness covers him, and the righteousness of the head of days will never forsake him. The angel continued, his words echoing with eternal significance. He carries to you a message of peace, a peace that has emanated since the creation of the world and will abide forever. Walk in his ways, for righteousness will never depart from him. In his presence you will find your dwelling and your inheritance, and you will be united with him forever. And so, the Son of Man enjoys length of days, and the righteous walk in peace and integrity in the name of the Lord of spirits, unto the ages of ages. Enoch continued to unveil the divine knowledge imparted to him, revealing the profound secrets of the celestial bodies and their movements. Guided by the holy angel Uriel, Enoch was shown the intricate mechanisms of the heavens. Uriel revealed to Enoch the precise laws that govern the celestial bodies, explaining how each star follows its designated path according to its commandments, its dominions, and its seasons. These laws are destined to remain in effect until the dawn of the new creation, which shall endure forever. Uriel began by saying, the first law of the luminaries is that the sun rises from the eastern gates of heaven and sets in the western gates. There are 6 gates from which the sun rises and 6 from which it descends. The moon follows similar paths, rising and setting within these gates, as do the leaders of the stars and their charges, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, all in precise and harmonious order. Additionally, there are numerous windows surrounding these gates on the right and on the left. The great luminary, the sun, appears first. Its circumference mirrors the expanse of the sky, and it is ablaze with radiant, warming fire. Its chariot ascends, propelled by the wind, and as the sun sets, it returns through the northern realms to reach the eastern gates, proceeding to its designated entrance and illuminating the sky. In the first month, the sun rises from the 4th gate of the 6 eastern gates, which contains 12 window openings. From each window, a flame emanates when opened in its proper season. For 30 mornings, the sun rises from this 4th gate and sets from the 4th gate in the west, gradually lengthening the daylight and shortening the night. On the 30th morning, the day surpasses the night by 9 parts, resulting in the day having 10 parts and the night 8 parts. Then, the sun transitions to the 5th gate, rising and setting through it for 30 mornings. In its movement, the day lengthens by 2 parts, totaling 11, and the night shortens to 7 parts. Following this, the sun advances to the 6th gate, where it rises and sets for 31 mornings. On this day, the day is double the length of the night, with the day having 12 parts and the night 6. Afterward, the sun begins to shorten the length of the day and increase the night. It returns to the 6th gate in the east and completes 30 mornings before the day diminishes by 1 part, making the day 11 parts and the night 7. Following this, the sun departs the 6th gate in the west, heading to the 5th gate in the east. It rises and sets from this gate for 30 mornings, diminishing the length of the day to 10 parts and increasing the night to 8. The sun continues this pattern, transitioning to the 4th gate for 31 mornings. Here, the day and night are equal, each comprising 9 parts. Then, the sun transitions to the 3rd gate, where it rises and sets for 30 mornings. The night lengthens beyond the day until the 30th morning, with the night having 10 parts and the day 8. It then moves to the 2nd gate for 30 mornings, lengthening the night to 11 parts and shortening the day to 7. Finally, the sun enters the 1st gate for 31 mornings, where the night reaches its longest duration, double the length of the day. On this day, the night comprises 12 parts and the day 6. The sun completes its circuit, returning to traverse its divisions and setting in the west opposite the gate from which it had risen. The night diminishes by 9, with the night having 11 parts and the day 7. Then, the sun once more enters the 2nd gate in the east, tracing its fixed course for 30 mornings, where it rises and sets as it did before. This shortens the night to 10 parts, and extends the day to 8. Afterward, the sun rises from this gate and sets in the west, eventually returning to the third gate for 31 mornings, where the night and day are equal at 9 parts each. Thus, the cycle completes with a year totaling 364 days. Uriel also showed Enoch the laws that govern the moon, the lesser luminary. The moon's circumference, which resembles the expanse of the sky, is moved by the wind, and its light is given by precise measurement. The moon rises with a 14th part of its light, Uriel explained, and continues to grow until the 15th day, when it is fully illuminated. After reaching its fullness, it begins to diminish, its light waning in precise sequence. This pattern is continually repeated, with the moon completing its cycle in alignment with the sun, and in this way the moon's movements ensure the precise measurement of the years, maintaining the balance and order of time. Uriel showed Enoch the movements and positions of all the celestial bodies, including the sun, moon, and stars. Each one follows a fixed path, adhering to the commands of the Lord of Majesty, who made them to govern the heavens and the earth. The angel Uriel then explained the 12 gates that surround the chariot of the sun. From these gates, the rays of the sun emanate, providing warmth to the earth. He also revealed the gates from which the winds and the dew flow, explaining how these forces control the daily and seasonal cycles. There are 12 gates in total, which are utilized by the sun, moon, and stars to maintain the natural order of the cosmos. Uriel showed how the balance between light and darkness, warmth and cold, prosperity and ruin, is maintained through the design of the Creator. Finally, Uriel showed the workings of the winds which come from 12 gates around the edges of the earth. These winds bring various results, ranging from blessings and abundance to destruction and ruin. The eastern wind brings drought and heat, and another eastern wind brings rain and fertility. The northern wind brings cold and snow, while the western wind brings mixed conditions. Enoch declared with a voice filled with awe, "The laws of the heavens have been revealed before my eyes. I have seen how each star, each planet, and each force of nature moves with perfect precision, following its designated path, maintaining the delicate harmony and balance of all creation." In those days, Uriel spoke to Enoch, saying, "Behold, I have revealed everything to you, Son of Man. I have revealed the hidden secrets of the sun and the moon, the holy leaders of the stars of heaven, and all those celestial beings that govern their movements, their duties, their times of rising and setting. And I have shown you the secrets of the seasons." As he spoke, the shadow of future days seemed to loom, and he declared, "In the days when the hearts of men grow cold, the years will shorten, and the earth itself will grieve. The fields and lands that once teemed with life will become barren, and the seeds that are sown will delay their growth. All that dwells upon the face of the earth will be altered, and its times will not be as they once were. The rain that once fell as a gift from heaven will be withheld, and the heavens will close in silence." As the angel's voice echoed through the winds of prophecy, the earth's lament became ever more palpable. In those days, the fruits of the earth will wither, delayed in their season, if they come at all. The trees, once laden with life, will withhold their fruits, and the cycles of abundance will cease. Even the moon, faithful in its course, will abandon its path and not appear in its appointed time. He lifted his gaze toward the heavens and continued, "And in those calamitous days, the sun itself will appear, but not as you have known it. It will veer towards the edge of the great western chariot and shine with a greater intensity than ever before, thus violating the order of the sacred lights." He spoke with a voice filled with lamentation. "The leaders of many stars will forsake their ordained paths, wandering and disobeying the order entrusted to them. Their duties and their seasons will be abandoned, and they will not appear in the appointed times prescribed by the Creator. The sacred order of the heavens, hidden from the eyes of sinners, becomes a lost secret to them, and the minds of men stumble in their understanding. They will look to the stars in confusion, err in their thoughts, and worst of all, they will be led astray and worship the stars as gods." The angel's tone grew darker as he prophesied the outcome of this folly. "Evil will abound upon the earth, spreading like a plague among humankind, And with the coming of this evil will come a swift and terrible punishment, so great that it will destroy all who persist in their wickedness. Thus Uriel concluded his stark warnings, the silence that followed heavy with foreboding. In another moment of divine revelation, Uriel called to Enoch and said to him, "Look upon the heavenly tablets. Read what is written upon them, and heed every detail, for the wisdom contained within them is for your understanding. Know the future." With great reverence, Enoch gazed upon the heavenly tablets and read the inscriptions written by the hand of the Almighty. Within them were contained all the deeds of humankind from the beginning of the earth until the generations far into the future. As he read and comprehended the vast sweep of human history, Enoch's heart was moved, and he blessed the great Lord, the King of eternal glory, for all his wondrous works. His lips uttered praise for the Lord's unending patience, and he blessed him for his mercy towards the children of men. Filled with divine wisdom, Enoch declared, "Blessed is the man who dies in righteousness and uprightness, for there is no record of unrighteousness against him. In his name there will be no day of judgment." As these declarations were announced to Enoch, the 7 holy ones who had been his guides brought him back to his earthly dwelling. They stood before the door of his house and spoke, saying, "Enoch, you must now declare these truths to your son Methuselah and to all your children. Show them that there is no flesh righteous in the eyes of the Lord, for he is the creator of all. He is the source of all life, and to him alone is judgment reserved." The angelic voices continued, their tones both solemn and urgent. "You have been granted only 1 year to live among your kindred, so that you may give your final commands and teach your children. Write down all that you have seen and bear witness to the generations that will come after you. In the 2nd year we will return and take you from among the people." Uriel's words were filled with both warning and hope. "Be steadfast in heart, for the righteous will tell the righteous of justice. Those who walk in the path of goodness will rejoice together and offer their blessings to one another. But sinners will perish with sinners, and apostates will fall into the abyss with those who have forsaken the truth. As for the righteous, even if they suffer because of the deeds of men, they will be taken away from the ways of the wicked." Following the angels' pronouncements, their voices stilled, a profound silence descending. Enoch returned to his people, his heart overflowing with praise for the Lord of all creation. In the days that followed, Enoch spoke to his son, Methuselah, imparting to him all the knowledge he had received. He meticulously wrote down every detail, urging Methuselah to safeguard these writings and transmit them through the generations, ensuring that this wisdom, far surpassing human comprehension, would be known throughout all ages. Enoch solemnly declared, "I bestow upon you, my son, and upon your children, this wisdom. See to it that they, in turn, pass this knowledge down to their descendants, for it transcends the very limits of human intellect. Those who grasp it will remain ever vigilant, never slumbering, but listening and learning with eager hearts. This wisdom shall be more satisfying to them than the finest of foods." He then blessed all the righteous, saying, "Blessed are those who walk in the path of righteousness and do not err as the sinners do. In the reckoning of all their days, the sun steadfastly moves across the sky, entering and exiting the gates of heaven for 30 days at a time, perpetually accompanied by the leaders of the stars. Yet there are 4 additional days interspersed throughout the year, marking the divisions between the seasons, and it is these days that cause confusion among men. They will fail to calculate them correctly, misjudging the passage of time. These days are sacred, meant to complete the cycle of the year, but mankind will struggle to recognize them. The sun completes its yearly journey in 364 days, a precise figure, recorded for eternity. Uriel, the holy angel entrusted with dominion over the host of heaven, revealed this to Enoch, unveiling the secrets of the luminaries, the months, the festivals, and the years, even down to the individual days. Uriel, by his divine authority, governs both night and day, overseeing the brightness of the sun, the moon, and the stars, which endlessly revolve in their celestial chariots. There is an order to the stars, each in its season, corresponding to the festivals and the passage of the months. The leaders of the stars who guide their courses are designated by name. For mighty beings preside over the 4 divisions of the year: Melchiel, Helemelech, Melegal, and Neril. And beneath them, 12 further leaders guide the stars through each month, with countless others ensuring that the days and seasons progress in perfect order. At the beginning of the year, the leader Melchiel, also known as Temeni, ascends first. He holds dominion over the sun for 91 days, a period marked by sweat and warmth upon the earth and tranquil skies. Life bursts forth in the trees, bearing fruit, leaves unfurl, and the fields blossom. The wheat ripens for harvest, the roses bloom, and the earth fills with beauty, though the trees of winter remain barren. Under Melchiel's leadership are 3 captains, Berkel, Zelebsel, and Heloyaseph, who govern alongside him. But as his rule concludes, another emerges, Helemelech, also called the Shining Sun. His reign also extends for 91 days, but the earth feels an intense heat and dryness. The fruits are ripe, heavy, and sweet, ready for harvest. The sheep mate and bear their young, and the fields are gathered and harvested in preparation for the winepress. During this time, the captains who serve under Helemelech are Gadael, Keel, Heel, and Asphale, each guiding his own system until their rule, too, reaches its inevitable end, and the cycle continues uninterrupted, as ordained by the Creator himself. And now, my son Methuselah, listen closely, for I shall share with you all the visions that have been revealed to me. These visions, bestowed upon me by the Almighty, have weighed heavily on my soul, and I shall recount them to you in their entirety. There were 2 great visions before I took a wife, each distinct from the other. The first came when I was still learning the ways of writing, a time when my mind was young and eager. The second, and far more terrible, came before I married your mother. Then, a horrifying vista unfolded before me, a scene that chilled me to the very marrow of my bones, and in my distress, I turned my heart to the Lord in prayer. At that moment, I had laid down to rest in the house of my grandfather Mahalalel, and as I slept, the vision seized me, and I saw the heavens collapse. The sky above us rent asunder and fell, crashing down upon the earth with overwhelming force. And as it struck the ground, I watched in terror as the earth opened up into a vast abyss. Mountains, once steadfast and towering, were tossed upon each other, while hills plunged into the depths. Even the great trees, rooted in the earth since ancient times, were uprooted from their foundations and hurled into the chasm below as if they were nothing. And then, a word burst forth from the depths of my being, and my mouth filled with a cry. I raised my voice and shrieked, "The earth is destroyed!" At that moment, my grandfather Mahalalel awakened me from my slumber, for he had heard my cries. He said to me with great concern, "Why do you weep, my son? What has caused this lament within you?" And I told him of the vision that had appeared to me, recounting all its horrifying details. His face grew grave as he listened, and he said, "Truly, what you have seen is terrible, my son. The vision of your dream reveals the hidden secrets of the world's sin, and the weight of this sin will drag the earth into the abyss. It shall be utterly destroyed." He looked at me earnestly and said, "Now arise, my son, and entreat the Lord of glory, for you are faithful in his eyes. Pray that he might leave a remnant upon the earth, lest he utterly destroy all of creation." And my heart trembled at his words, and he continued, "For from the heavens shall this destruction come, and by it shall the earth be consumed." And then I arose and prayed with all my might. I pleaded and begged the Lord to have mercy, and I wrote down my prayer for the generations to come. I promised that I would reveal everything to you, Methuselah, so that you might understand the gravity of what is to come. And after my prayer, I went out and looked upon the sky, and I saw the sun rising from the east, casting its light upon the world as it had since the beginning of time. The moon was setting in the west, and some of the stars still lingered in the sky. The earth, despite what I had witnessed, still moved with the rhythm established by the Creator since the dawn of history. And I blessed the Lord God of judgment and praised him for his works, for he had caused the sun to rise each day to travel across the sky, in the path that he alone had ordained. Then, with hands raised high, I glorified the great Holy One. With the breath that the Lord had given me, and the physical tongue fashioned for the children of men, I spoke in his name. Blessed art thou, O Lord, King of kings, great and mighty is thy power, and forever is thy majesty. You are the Lord of all creation, and the heavens are your throne, and the earth your footstool unto eternity. And I continued in my praise. O Lord, you have created all things, and nothing is too difficult for you. From your throne, wisdom flows unceasingly, and from your presence nothing departs. You know and see all things, for nothing is hidden from your eye. But as I prayed, my heart grew heavy with sorrow, for I knew that even the angels, the host of heaven, had sinned against the Lord. And upon the bodies of mankind, the wrath of God would remain until the day of the great judgment. I cried out, O God, the great King, I beseech you, hear my prayer. Leave me a posterity upon this earth. Do not destroy all flesh, nor let the world be left desolate and uninhabited, subject to eternal destruction. And with a trembling voice, I pleaded, Let your wrath fall upon the wicked, and let the righteous be as a planting firmly rooted for eternity. Do not hide your face from me, O Lord. Hear the prayer of your servant. And after this, another vision came to me, and I must tell you, my son, all that I saw. Enoch raised his voice and spoke to Methuselah. Listen well, my son, to the vision of your father. Before I took your mother Edna as my wife, I saw a vision as I lay upon my bed. In this vision, I saw a great bull emerge from the earth, its coat as white as snow, and a heifer followed after it, and with her appeared two other bulls, one black and the other red. And the black bull butted the red bull and chased it across the earth, and I saw the red bull no more. And the black bull grew larger, and the cow followed him, and from her were born many bulls, each resembling the black bull. The cow then searched for the white bull but could not find it, and her grief was great, and she wept bitterly for him, and her sorrow filled the earth. But with time, the white bull returned to her, comforting her, and she wept no more. She gave birth to another white bull, and from this bull came more black cows amongst them. And in my sleep, I watched as the white bull grew and became a great creature, larger and mightier than all the others. And from him were born many white bulls, each following after the one before, in great numbers. And as I slept again, my eyes beheld a vision of the heavens above, and I saw a star fall from the sky. It mingled among the bulls, grazing and feeding beside them. Then I noticed the large, dark-colored bulls, and I saw that they had all changed their stalls and pastures, intertwining their lives together as one within the other. I looked upward once more, and I saw many more stars descend from the sky, converging with that first fallen star. And these stars transformed into bulls and joined the cattle, and I watched in astonishment as these newly formed bulls extended their limbs like horses, and the cows covered the bulls, and from this union, the cows gave birth to strange offspring, elephants, camels, and asses. And fear gripped all the bulls at the sight of these monstrous creatures. Terrified, they began to bite and devour one another, and to butt with their horns. The earth itself trembled with fear and fled from their presence. In the vision, I beheld a terrible sight. These creatures began to butt and devour each other, and the earth cried out in pain. I lifted my eyes again to the heavens, and in the vision, beings like white men appeared from the celestial realm. And 4 of these beings stepped forward, accompanied by 3 others. The 3 who arrived last took hold of my hand, and lifted me away from the earthly generations and raised me to a high and lofty place. They showed me a towering structure looming above the earth, while all the surrounding hills seemed small in comparison. And one of the beings said to me, Remain here and watch all that befalls these elephants, camels, and asses, as well as the stars and the bulls, and behold all that happens to them. In the vision, I saw one of the first 4 beings who had come forth. He seized the original star that had fallen from the sky, and bound its hands and feet before casting it into a narrow, deep, and terrifying abyss. Then another being drew a sword and handed it to the elephants, camels, and asses. Armed with this weapon, they began to strike at one another, causing the earth to quake with the force of their struggle. And as I watched, one of the four beings who had descended from the sky began to pelt these creatures with stones. He gathered all the great stars whose members resembled those of horses, and bound their hands and feet, and cast them into the same abyss of the earth, leaving them bound and helpless. One of the four beings approached the white bull and revealed to him a profound secret, causing no fear. The bull transformed into a man, and built for himself a magnificent vessel and dwelt within it. And beside him, 3 other bulls sought refuge in the vessel, and their presence was protected within. And I turned my gaze once more toward the sky, and I beheld a high roof above, with 7 rivers of water upon it. These torrents poured an abundance of water into a wide enclosure. I looked again, and I saw fountains gushing forth upon the floor of that great enclosure, causing the waters to rise and swell. Gradually, the enclosure filled with water until it was completely submerged. As the waters deepened, darkness and fog increased. The waters rose above the height of the enclosure and began to flood, covering the earth beneath. All the cattle that were within the enclosure were gathered together, and I watched as they drowned, consumed by the rising waters, and perished in its depths. Yet the vessel remained afloat, while all the bulls, elephants, camels, and asses sank beneath the water, disappearing from sight and meeting their doom. And in the vision, I saw the floodwaters recede from the high surface and reveal the face of the earth. Gaps were filled, and new chasms opened. The waters flowed into these new chasms, making the earth visible once more. And the vessel settled upon solid ground, and the darkness receded, and light appeared. And the white bull, now a man, emerged from the vessel with the 3 bulls who had accompanied him. One was white like himself, another blood red, and the last black. And from them the white bull then began to beget the beasts of the field and the birds, bringing forth a variety of species: lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, hyenas, wild boars, foxes, squirrels, swine, falcons, eagles, kites, vultures, and ravens. Among these, a new white bull was born, and conflict arose among these creatures, but the newly born white bull begot a wild ass and another white bull, and wild asses multiplied from this lineage. The bull was born from the first white bull, and he begot a black wild boar and a white sheep. And the wild boar begot many offspring, and the sheep begot 12 sheep. And when the 12 sheep grew up, one of them was given to the wild asses, who then carried it to the wolves. This sheep matured among the wolves. And the lord of the sheep gathered the 11 remaining sheep and brought them to live and graze among the wolves. And the flocks multiplied, and their numbers increased. The wolves grew fearful of the increasing sheep, and they oppressed them greatly, destroying their young and casting them into a river of much water. And the sheep cried out in anguish for their lost young and pleaded with their lord. One sheep fled from the wolves and escaped to the wild asses. And I witnessed the lamentation of the sheep and their supplication to their lord, who descended from his high abode in answer. He called to the sheep that had fled and commanded him to warn the wolves against harming the sheep. And the sheep, following the Lord's command, went to the wolves accompanied by another sheep. Together, they entered the assembly of the wolves and admonished them to cease their attacks upon the sheep. Yet I saw how the wolves continued to oppress the sheep with all their might, causing them to cry out in distress. The Lord came to the sheep, and they began to smite the wolves. And the wolves, in turn, wailed, but the cries of the sheep ceased. I observed as the sheep left the wolves behind, while the wolves, blinded and enraged, pursued them with relentless force. The Lord of the sheep led them, and his presence was radiant and awe-inspiring. And all the sheep followed him, and their faces were illumined with his glory. The wolves chased the sheep until they reached a vast sea. And the sea parted, standing as water on either side, and their Lord guided them, placing himself between the sheep and the wolves. And when the wolves could no longer see the sheep, they ventured into the sea, following them into the midst of the waters, and their pursuit was relentless. When the wolves saw the Lord of the sheep, they turned in terror to flee from his overwhelming presence. But the sea gathered itself together and returned to its former state. The waters rose and swelled, eventually swallowing the wolves. I beheld the horrifying scene as every wolf that had pursued the sheep drowned and perished in the raging sea. Yet the sheep survived the flood and entered into a desolate wilderness, devoid of water and sustenance. In this desolate land, their eyes were open to their surroundings. I saw the Lord of the sheep tending to them with compassion, providing them with water and grass, while the leading sheep guided them. The leading sheep ascended to the top of a high rock, and the Lord of the sheep returned him to the flock. I saw the Lord of the sheep standing before them, his appearance awe-inspiring, majestic, and terrifying. His sight instilled a profound fear in the sheep. They trembled and quaked before him, crying out to the leading sheep, "We cannot endure the sight of our Lord, nor can we stand before him." The leading sheep ascended once more to the top of the rock, but the sheep began to stray and wander from the path he had shown them, though the sheep remained unaware of their deviation. And the Lord of the sheep grew exceedingly angry with them. The leading sheep sensed this, and he descended from the rock and found the majority of the sheep blind and astray. And when they faced the straying flock, they trembled in fear of his presence, longing to return to their safe pastures. And the leading sheep gathered other sheep and went to those who had wandered. And he began to execute the straying sheep, instilling fear within them, and thus returned the wanderers to their fold. And I saw in the vision the leading sheep transform into a man and build a great house for the Lord of the sheep, placing all the sheep within it. And I saw how that sheep met with the leading sheep who became a man, and then fell asleep. The great sheep perished, and in their place arose smaller sheep, who led the flock to a new pasture and a flowing stream of water. The leader, now a man, withdrew from the sheep and fell asleep, causing great sorrow among the flock. They cried out bitterly for their lost leader. Eventually, the sheep ceased their wailing and crossed the river. New leaders emerged, as 2 of the sheep took charge where the old ones had fallen asleep. I witnessed the arrival of the sheep in a beautiful and fertile land. And the sheep grew and thrived in this beautiful place, where the house stood among them. At times their vision was clear, and at other times it was obscured, until a new sheep arose to lead them, restoring their sight. And as the sheep faced the challenges of dogs, foxes, and wild boars, the Lord of the sheep raised a ram from among them to lead them. The ram fought fiercely against the predators, eventually destroying them all. But the ram, once so glorious, became corrupt and began to attack and trample the sheep, abusing his power. The Lord of the sheep appointed another sheep, transforming him into a ram to replace the fallen leader. This new ram became a prince and leader of the sheep, but throughout these events, the sheep continued to suffer persecution from the dogs. The first ram chased after the second, but the second ram fled in fear. Eventually, the dogs overcame and brought down the first ram. Then the second ram assumed leadership of the sheep. The flock multiplied and grew, and the predators fled in fear of the ram's power. The ram vanquished the wild beasts, who no longer held dominion over the sheep. The ram begot many sheep before falling asleep. Then a small sheep succeeded him as a ram and became the new leader. And the house grew and expanded, built for the sheep, and a towering structure was erected for the Lord of the sheep. This house, though low, was overshadowed by the great tower where the Lord resided, and the sheep offered a full table before him. Yet, I saw that the sheep had strayed again and left their house. And the Lord of the sheep sent messengers among them, and the sheep killed them. One of the messengers escaped and cried out against the flock, but the Lord saved him and brought him to me to dwell there. Many other sheep were sent to lament and testify to the flock, but as they left the house of the Lord and his tower, they fell away completely. Their eyes were blinded, and the Lord wrought a great slaughter among them, so that they destroyed themselves. And he delivered them into the hands of the lions, tigers, wolves, hyenas, foxes, and all the wild beasts, and they tore the sheep apart. The Lord abandoned the house and the tower, leaving the sheep at the mercy of the beasts. They were destroyed and devoured. In my distress, I cried out with all my might, pleading with the Lord of the sheep to intervene as the beasts continued to devour his flock. Yet the Lord of the sheep remained unmoved, even as he saw the destruction unfolding before his very eyes. And he rejoiced at their eating, devouring, and plundering, and left them at the mercy of the predatory beasts. And he called 70 shepherds and delivered the sheep to them, instructing them, "Now let each of you tend the sheep, and do all that I command you. I will give you a specified number of sheep, and do not slaughter any save those whom I command you to." He entrusted the sheep to their care. But he called to another as well, saying, "Watch all that the shepherds do to the sheep. Observe closely, for they will destroy more than I have commanded. Record every transgression and every act of destruction that they commit. Note how many people they destroy by my command and how many fall by their own reckless will." And he added to this observer, "Do not reveal this to the shepherds. Do not warn them, nor speak to them of their iniquities. Simply write down every sheep they slaughter and present to me a full account." As time passed, the shepherds began to tend the sheep, but they slaughtered far more than they had been commanded. And they delivered the sheep to the lions and other beasts. The lions and tigers tore the sheep apart and devoured them in great numbers. Even the wild boars fed upon them. And the shepherds set fire to the tower and tore down the house of the sheep. Sorrow weighed upon me as I gazed at the ruins of the tower, for the house of the sheep lay in utter ruin, and I could no longer discern if any of the sheep had managed to return to it. And the shepherds and their companions continued to deliver the sheep to the beasts, and each of them received a specified number. Meanwhile, the observer faithfully recorded in his book the number of sheep each shepherd destroyed, and far more perished than had been ordained. I could not contain my grief, and I wept bitterly for the slaughtered sheep. And in my vision, I saw the one who kept the record present the scroll before the Lord of the sheep. Every name was written, every destructive deed, and the book was placed before him. The Lord read it and sealed it and set it aside. I continued to watch the shepherds tending for another 12 hours. During that time, 3 of the sheep returned and entered the ruins, rebuilding what had been lost. They began to restore the tower, which was now called the High Tower, and they also placed a table before it, but the bread they placed upon it was defiled and impure. Yet, through all this, the eyes of the sheep remained blind, as did the eyes of their shepherds. The sheep were delivered into the hands of their shepherds, only to be trampled and devoured. But the Lord of the sheep remained unmoved, even as his flock was scattered across the fields and mingled with the wild beasts. And the shepherds made no effort to save them. Once more, the observer who had written all these things took the book and brought it before the Lord of the sheep. He earnestly pleaded on behalf of the sheep, testifying against the shepherds, revealing their many sins. And the Lord accepted the book and placed it beside him before dismissing the observer. And I saw that 35 more shepherds were appointed to tend the sheep, each fulfilling their appointed time. And as before, others took charge when their time had ended, and the cycle continued. Then I saw the sky darken as swarms of birds descended upon the sheep, vultures, eagles, kites, and ravens. But it was the eagles that led the assault. And they began to feed upon the sheep, tearing at their flesh and gouging out their eyes. The sheep cried out in agony as their bodies were devoured. And I, in my sleep, wept and grieved for the shepherds who had been entrusted with their care. And the dogs, vultures, and kites continued their feast, leaving no trace of flesh, skin, or sinew. Only the bare bones of the sheep remained, and even those bones crumbled to the earth as the number of sheep dwindled. I watched as 23 more shepherds carried out their duties, each fulfilling their term, which extended for 58 more times. But amidst this horror, new lambs were born to the white sheep, and their eyes were opened, and they began to cry out to the rest of the flock. Though the lambs called to their elders, the older sheep were deaf to their pleas, and their eyes were blind to the truth. Then I saw the ravens swoop down upon the lambs. One sheep was seized and thrown to the ground, and devoured. Yet, even so, the lambs began to grow horns, though the ravens tried to tear them away. And as time passed, one sheep sprouted a great horn, and his eyes opened fully. This sheep turned and looked upon the others as he cried out to them. And the rams heard the call, and all of them rushed towards the one with the great horn. And even after all this, The vultures, eagles, ravens, and kites continued their relentless attacks, swooping down upon the sheep, tearing them apart, and devouring their flesh. Though the sheep suffered, they remained silent, while the rams cried out in sorrow and distress. The ravens, in a desperate attempt to overcome the ram, fought him fiercely, seeking to break his great horn, but they did not have the strength to defeat him. I watched the shepherds, along with the vultures, eagles, and kites, call upon the ravens to shatter the horn of that ram. They joined forces in a violent struggle, but the ram resisted them desperately, crying out for deliverance. And then, before my very eyes, the man who recorded the names of the shepherds descended from the presence of the Lord of the sheep. He came to aid the ram, revealing to him all that was written. His coming was the salvation of the ram. And at last, the Lord of the sheep appeared, his wrath burning like an unquenchable fire. At the sight of him, all those assembled, the shepherds, the beasts, and the birds alike, fled in terror, hastening to escape his gaze. They were cast into his shadow, consumed by fear. The vultures, eagles, ravens, and kites gathered together, and the sheep of the fields also came together, united with the beasts and birds in their efforts to break the ram's horn. But I saw the man who wrote the book open it and present the record of the last 12 shepherds. They had wrought greater destruction than any who had come before them. The Lord of the sheep saw this, and he was filled with rage. The Lord then took the staff of his wrath in his hand and struck the earth with a mighty blow. The earth split open, and the ground swallowed up all the beasts and birds of the sky that had tormented the sheep, sealing them in and sealing their doom. Then I saw a great sword given to the sheep, and with this weapon, they rose up against the beasts of the field and slaughtered them in retribution. The beasts and birds fled from the sheep, but none could escape their wrath. And in the land of peace, a great throne was erected, and the Lord of the sheep sat upon it. And the man who wrote the scroll brought forth the sealed records and opened them before the Lord. The Lord summoned 7 men clothed in white garments and commanded them to bring before him the stars whose hidden sins were like the impurity of horses. These stars were brought before him, trembling in judgment. Then the Lord turned to the man who had recorded all the events and said, "Take these 70 shepherds, to whom I entrusted the sheep, and who acted willfully, and slaughtered far more than I commanded." And I saw that they were all bound and stood before the Lord, trembling with their guilt. Judgment was passed first upon the stars. They were judged, condemned, and cast into a fiery abyss filled with unquenchable flames and pillars of burning fire. The 70 shepherds faced their judgment next, and they too were condemned. They were cast into the same fiery abyss, and their fate was sealed. And as I continued to watch, the earth opened once more, revealing another abyss of fire in its depths. And before it, the blind sheep were brought, and they too were condemned. They were all judged, and one by one, they were cast into the flames, where they burned until nothing remained but ashes. This abyss lay to the right of the house of the sheep. I watched in horror as the sheep burned, their bones consumed by the fire. Then I saw the old house, the house that had sheltered the sheep, folded up, and its pillars, beams, ornaments were removed and carried away and placed in a distant land to the south. But then a new house appeared, greater and more magnificent than the first. It was erected in the place of the old, its pillars stronger, and its ornaments more magnificent. All the remaining sheep were gathered into this new house. And as I gazed upon the scene, I saw all the beasts of the earth and the birds of the sky prostrating themselves before the sheep. They entreated and obeyed the sheep in every. The Lord of the sheep rejoiced greatly, for all his sheep had returned to his house. In that very moment, the 3 men in white garments, who had once held my hand, reappeared. They lifted me, along with the ram, and placed us in the midst of the sheep, before the commencement of judgment. Now the sheep were adorned with wool of pure, abundant, and immaculate white. All those who had perished or been scattered were gathered within the new house, and the Lord rejoiced with overwhelming joy at their return, for they were now righteous and faithful. I witnessed the sword, once given to the sheep, returned to its sheath and sealed before the Lord's presence. All the sheep were called into the house, though it seemed impossible for it to contain them all, for they were exceedingly numerous. Suddenly, their eyes were opened, and they beheld the goodness that surrounded them. None were blind, for all could see clearly. I saw the house expand, growing wider and wider, filled to its very brim with sheep. Then, from among them was born a white bull with great horns. All the beasts of the earth and the birds of the sky feared, placated, and entreated him without ceasing. I watched as generations of sheep transformed, one after another, until they were all white bulls. Among them, the firstborn had been a sheep, but this sheep grew into a mighty beast with great black horns upon its head. The Lord of the sheep rejoiced in this sheep and all the bulls, and in their midst I fell into a deep sleep. When I awoke, I had seen everything. This was the vision that came to me in my sleep. When I awoke, I blessed the Lord of righteousness and glorified his name. But I could not stop weeping. Tears flowed endlessly, for the weight of all that I had seen overwhelmed me. I wept because I knew that all things would come to pass, and that all the deeds of humankind, each in its own time, had been revealed to me. That night, I remembered my first dream, and the vision filled me with sorrow and dread. I wept for what I had witnessed, for the destiny of all was laid bare before me. The weight of the knowledge pressed down, a heavy burden upon my soul. The tapestry of time, once a beautiful mystery, was now a stark and unavoidable reality. Each thread, each color, each knot revealed the inevitable course of events, and I was but a humble witness to the unfolding drama. The joy of divine revelation was overshadowed by the somber understanding of what was to come, a future etched in the very fabric of existence.